Let's get more analysis on the situation in Libya. We're joined by John Laughlin from the Institute of Democracy and Cooperation in Paris. Now, the British Foreign Secretary has said that there will be no occupation forces in Libya, although earlier he refused to rule out ground operations. How far do you think the coalition could go?
I think when he says that, he's probably speaking the truth. After all, the United Nations Security Council resolution itself ruled out any ground forces or any foreign occupation of Libya. And I'm sure it isn't in the plans of the Allies to have such a ground force or occupation. I think that they think, to the extent that they have thought about this at all, that the matter can be settled with an air campaign. However, I think they're gravely mistaken. And I think that this escapade will end in catastrophic failure, precisely because they have decided to restrict themselves to an air campaign. Let's not forget that the same policy was taken by Hillary Clinton's husband, Bill Clinton, over Kosovo when NATO decided to attack Yugoslavia in 1999. That war was only an air campaign, and the original idea of that war was to bomb Serbia for a few days to bring Slobodan Milosevic to heel. The campaign ended up lasting 74 days, and my fear, my conviction in fact, is that the European leaders and the Americans who have pushed this attack on Libya have committed the same mistake. In other words, they think that a quick bit of bombing will sort the matter out, but in fact I think they will find that it will last far longer than they've gambled for.
Now, that air campaign, nevertheless, has been seriously criticized by Russia, which follows the Arab League criticizing the campaign, saying that it's gone way beyond what they had backed originally, causing civilian deaths. Do you think that coalition forces will take on board this growing criticism that we're hearing from around the world?
No, I don't think they will, but unfortunately it will, of course, be a major factor in the sense that it will undermine their ability to prosecute the war in the way they want. But no, I'm afraid I think that these people who are, and I'm talking about the British Prime Minister, the French President, the American administration, these people who are so happy to let bombs fly on countries almost at the drop of a hat, they are determined to get the outcome they want, which is the overthrow of Colonel Gadaffi of Libya. So it will make the task, the disagreements and the discordant voices that are now coming out both within Western states and also, as you say, in the Arab League. These will indeed make it very difficult to continue the war, but I'm afraid they won't let go now that they've started.
Now, there also appears to be splits within the coalition over whether or not Colonel Gadaffi himself is a target. Do you think that there are kind of different interests here between the coalition forces and that perhaps some countries could be using the UN resolution as a cover?
Well, of course that's what they're doing. There's absolutely no, let's be perfectly clear, the purpose of this war against Libya, because we must call it that, is to overthrow Colonel Gadaffi. It's to effect regime change, the same sort of regime change that we've had in Egypt and in Tunisia. There's no doubt about that. The West, in these fairy tales about revolutions, it writes the happy ending before the thing has even started. And there is no doubt that the end game in this is Gadaffi's overthrow. As for differences within the coalition, yes, there certainly are differences within the European Union and with NATO. We know that major EU states, major NATO states like Turkey and Germany are not in favour of this war. That will be a major factor undermining it. Whether there are differences between the powers, the great powers actually prosecuting the war, that is to say between Britain, France and America, is a little bit more difficult to say, and it's only early days yet. But I have no doubt that their goal is indeed to, as you say, use the resolution as cover for their main goal, which is to sow havoc in the Arab world and to manipulate the political situation there.
Mr. Laughlin, with that said, do you think that the military intervention in Libya is justified?
Definitely not. I am a long-standing opponent of military intervention, and my view is that, firstly, that these escapades are always hijacked for ulterior motives, whether it be oil or for geopolitical motives, and secondly, that they do not, in fact, improve the situation. Instead, what you do is inflame a situation even more than it already is. I don't believe that the number of people killed will be smaller as a result of this operation. I'm sure it will be larger. And thirdly, we know from past interventions that interventions never end. After all, everybody knows that we, NATO, are still in Afghanistan, having attacked that country in 2001. That's 10 years ago. The same for Iraq, we attacked in 2003. We're still in Kosovo after the attack of 1999. Once you start an intervention, it's very difficult to end it. And I'm afraid I'm appalled to see that once again Western states are making this mistake. They're going lightly into a war and not thinking about the future or how to get out of the situation that they've created.
And indeed, you are not the only expert drawing parallels between Iraq, Afghanistan and Libya. John Laughlin, live from Paris. Thanks for that.